All right, well, I'm here at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Unheard newsroom editor James Billow is on top of all of the big stories, including one unfolding minute by minute, and surely will be unfolding minute by minute for days to come. That would be Robert F. Kennedy Jr. News has bubbled to the surface that he may be stepping down from his presidential campaign. James, what's going on?
Yes, well, rumors are swirling, and they have been for the past few days, that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will be dropping out of the presidential race. On Wednesday, the campaign announced that he would be addressing the nation to discuss his path forward. But many are suggesting that he's not actually just going to drop out, but also endorse Trump. So the first hint of this actually came a few days ago from running mate Nicole Shanahan.
There's two options that we're looking at, and one is staying in, forming that new party, but we run the risk of a Kamala Harris and Waltz presidency because we draw votes from Trump, or we draw somehow more votes from Trump, or we walk away right now and join forces with Donald Trump.
And so we have Shanahan here suggesting that she might, or the Kennedy campaign might be joining forces with Trump. Trump actually said in a recent interview that he had no contact from RFK, and he denied any reports that they would be in some kind of arrangement about a deal in government or an office in government. But it's clear that the RFK campaign has been weighed down by a number of lawsuits and a lot of ballot access issues across the campaign. And Emily, I want you to bring you in here because this is something you wrote about for Unheard. And it seems as though the big turning point for this was after the Biden debate, where all the air was let out the Kennedy balloon.
Kennedy's campaign was built, of course, on the double hater vote. And what's interesting is that even though Kamala Harris was the least liked, the most unpopular vice president in modern presidential history, we're talking numbers that I believe are actually worse than Dick Cheney's numbers, somebody who was portrayed in the media as Darth Vader, literally. Kamala Harris had worse favorability ratings than Dick Cheney and went from that to basically almost entirely evening out that double hater vote in the matter of a month. And all it took was Joe Biden dropping out of the race. It's pretty interesting because Robert F. Kennedy Jr., obviously the other half of the double hater, is Trump, right? Like, he early on in his campaign was pretty anti-Trump and made a lot of, I think, points where Trump is vulnerable that other Republicans wouldn't touch because they couldn't, because they were beholden to some of the same corporate interests. And when you have somebody like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. coming in and then going for Trump, I don't know what his political future is, because he really was the normie, double hater, third party candidate that America hadn't seen catch traction in literal decades.
During the course of the campaign, Kennedy was very keen to distance himself from both Biden and Trump. But in recent weeks, there's been a real bitterness towards Harris and Waltz. And this was actually shown in that Nicole Shanahan interview, where she's really coming after the Democrats for allegedly driving a lot of these lawsuits against the independent campaign.
Is the risk of a Harris-Waltz presidency worth us staying in?
Her big aim, or her big ambition, is to not let there be a Harris-Waltz presidency in November. So it's interesting to see where their vote's going to feed. But as you mentioned, after that debate, and when Harris came onto the stage and she became the new Democratic nominee, Kennedy's support did drop a few percentage points, and Harris's rose by a similar amount. So that could have been the left-leaning RFK voters drifting back to the Democrat Party, while Kennedy still held on to those double-hating Trump voters.
Well, I actually want to say, yeah, it's to me striking that I'm here in the halls of the DNC, and Robert F. Kennedy actually wanted to run as a Democrat. He tried to run as a Democrat. Nicole Shanahan explained on that famous recent podcast appearance where she first really seemed to suggest that there was a negotiation ongoing with the Trump campaign, potentially with the Harris campaign as well. The Democratic Party did everything to stop Robert F. Kennedy Jr. from being able to have ballot access in the primary, from being able to debate Joe Biden. And here the Democrats are. It seems to be working out fine for them so far that they had this kind of anti-small d Democratic campaign against RFK Jr. I think media observers are actually downplaying how serious of a boost it could give Trump when you're fighting over marginal voting blocks in blue wall swing states where you have Obama-Trump voters, Obama-Trump-Biden voters, and now Trump, who perhaps understands the power of the Kennedy aesthetic better than RFK Jr. himself does, is going to go out there and say, look at this man. I am the candidate of the Kennedy Democrat. So it could be much more powerful than I think Democrats realize.